Hi, I'm Peter, and I'm glad to get into a different kind of topic about saving money here. And it's about the things that we spend money on routinely. How much does the average American household spend on certain categories? Like, two-adult household actually spends $280 a year on average on haircuts. And so that may not seem like a lot, but this starts to add up here and there. Car repairs and maintenance costs, the average American household spends $885 per year. Then the out-of-pocket cost for dental hygiene, teeth cleaning, costs $465 per year. So if you're quick with the math or your calculator, you will notice here that we're at about $2,000 per year for the average American household. And that doesn't include some of the things that we spend money on that might be a little bit more superfluous, like massages or eating out. And I want to talk about those things today and give you some ideas here on how you can use maybe vocational schools to save that money. And the regular disclaimer here is that some of the numbers may be outdated by the time you're watching this, and so you will definitely have to check and see what's available in your hometown and near you, and some of these options may be different depending on where you are. But you might be asking yourself, what are vocational schools? And unfortunately, I'm not here to do a presentation on going to a vocational school to save money on school education costs, although that can be a great option. But I'm here to talk about how these schools are focused on particular lines of work. Essentially trade schools, everything from cosmetology school to medical coding school to auto mechanics. And these are programs that typically last about 6 months to 2 years. They're great for students who may be wanting to get into a specific field, and so they don't need to go to a traditional college. They can save themselves a lot of money, and they can get into the workforce more quickly. They are also great for somebody that is just wanting to get real-world experience. Maybe they want to try something out before they go to another university and get a full degree in it. It can also allow them to provide for their family, depending on what the situation is. So they're great for a lot of reasons, and that's why we're going to focus our time today for consumers who want to save some money on some of these basic services, these routine maintenance types of services, things that they have to spend money on a regular basis, and maybe get yourself a great experience at an incredible price. So, for example, if you need your car work done, and you also have a vocational school that's nearby, the students there also need to have real-world experience, and this can provide a great opportunity for you to save some money. I'll share a specific example here in a little bit, but to get your car worked on by a student, you can save some serious cash yourself and have the opportunity to give back and provide a learning experience to the student as well. Now, these schools are located all over the U.S., and you probably have some nearby where you live. And I think there are some really great options, probably right in your own neighborhood or in the big cities in your neighborhood. Now, when you think about getting work done, you probably have some common concerns. First of all, it can seem a little bit risky to have a student work on your car or clean your teeth, maybe because they're still learning. They might not have the expertise that you might be expecting. Also, maybe you're worried that the quality of what they do isn't going to be good enough, or maybe not as professional enough as your normal provider. Of course, you might be concerned about the number of locations. How convenient is it to have a place near you? A lot of auto repair places are national chains with locations that are conveniently located. Trade schools might only have one location in your metropolitan area, so it's common to feel worried about the professionalism or the limited amount of locations. There's also sometimes a concern about the time, that some of these things are going to take much longer than your normal provider. So if you are going to a dentist and they are a student learning, the routine visit might take quite a bit longer. It might not be as efficient because that student is learning, trying to do a good job, taking their time and being thorough, and then their professor has to look over their work. And so it might be quite a bit longer than your normal cleanings. And so if you're used to getting in and out very quickly and time is of the essence for you, this might not be the best fit for you. But there are a lot of positives about using vocational schools and trade schools. And the main one we're going to talk about today is that there is serious money savings available. When you're able to get service done at a school, the big advantage is saving money on the labor cost. When you're paying a professional, usually the labor cost is one of the largest parts of the expense. And typically with students, because this is considered real-world experience and they're counting it towards their school, you as the consumer don't have to pay quite as much for that. Also, you don't have to sacrifice on quality in the product or the service that you're getting. The students are eager and they want to do a very good job because they're usually getting graded on their work. And in fact, you might have a better experience than going to a professional because your students are overseen by a professional who is usually an expert and a longtime veteran in their industry, maybe even teaching and innovating in this space as well. So you should actually feel pretty confident when you are getting your teeth cleaned by a dental student, and that is being double checked by a very accomplished professor. You should get a high quality experience by doing this. And now I wanted to talk through some different examples of what this could look like. So let's look at some specific vocational schools and some examples of the types of cost savings that you could be looking at here. So the first one I want to talk about is your local cosmetology school, and a very popular one that's out there is the Aveda Institute. And they actually have locations all over the country, so you might have one nearby where you're at. And it's a great way for students who are in the beauty profession to not only get this real-world experience, but Aveda is actually owned by Estee Lauder, so they have name recognition, which draws in top students too. What's nice for you as a consumer is that these students need the real-world experience, and they're working in a pseudo salon that you can go to. Remember I said earlier that the average American household with 2 adults spends $280 per year on haircuts? Imagine if you could visit one of these schools and cut that in half. It's not hard to do because these schools actually have a pretty good price structure. And what's amazing about this is that a haircut in many of these places costs only $12. And they have that same type of salon experience where you get your hair washed and cut and don't have to wait a whole lot longer either. This is one great way to save some money, and you might have different types of cosmetology schools right where you live. And since most of us have to get haircuts on a regular basis, this could be an easy thing to save some money on. All right, next up is a tech school or technology school, and these again are nationwide. They're all over the place. Cars are ubiquitous, and so there are a lot of students going to school for automotive repair. At these schools, students are learning about automotive technology, diesel technology, heavy equipment, collision repair, and refinishing. And the beauty for you, again, is these students need real-world experience to repair and refinish and do different types of repairs on cars. And this is where you could save a lot of money because car repair tends to be very expensive on labor rates. In fact, many of these places charge a significantly reduced labor rate or even work for a flat fee, which is amazing. Now, if you've ever had your car repaired at a local shop or even a dealership, you know how much auto repair labor is. I've paid anywhere from $60 to $100 an hour at independent shops and a couple $100 an hour at the dealership. So a flat fee and a reduced fee is a huge advantage for consumers. Now, one example of this is Moraine Park Technical College, which is a technical college up in Wisconsin. Here, you would be charged $10 up front for a hazardous waste disposal fee. That's just something you're going to have to pay. But then if you were going to get your brakes fixed, this could be a huge savings for you. Typically, this type of service would cost you about $500. But if you go to Moraine Park, because the labor cost is a fixed cost, you'd be looking at about $300. So a huge $200 savings on the same work that you would get done at your local mechanic. Now, a couple of qualifiers, if you will. If you are looking at having your car serviced at a technical school, they will usually have some requirements on how old your vehicle is. It usually needs to be a slightly newer car, say 2003 or newer or less than 20 years old. And that's just to make sure that they're getting experience on cars that they are generally going to see out in the workplace, and that they don't need specialized tools or have difficulty finding parts. So if you have a car that's old, this might not be a good solution for you. And it could take slightly longer to get the work done, as I mentioned earlier, because this shop is only open Monday through Thursday and during normal business hours, and they might not work as fast because they are being overseen by an expert mechanic and being taught lessons along the way. You may not be able to drop your car off and pick it up quite as quickly as you would at an independent shop. But when you look at the cost savings, maybe cutting your cost by a third or half for exactly the same work that you might get locally, I think it can be very compelling. Also, remember, the work here is certified by a professional auto technician who oversees the students, so you're essentially getting a professional experience at a discount. If you have a place like this nearby you, I would definitely suggest checking it out. Now, the third type of school out there is a dental hygienist school, and this is one where you can save some serious money because they have to practice on real-world patients. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of how these stations are set up at these schools, but they have mannequins that they're working on, and they're very sophisticated. But they obviously have to work on actual people to get used to interacting with people, and probably need to learn how to talk to people while they are doing their procedures. Now, this could be another great way to dramatically reduce your costs, especially if your insurance coverage on your dental work isn't as generous as it could be. But I bring that up because most of these schools will actually take your insurance as well. So if you have good dental insurance coverage, this could just reduce the amount of money that you have to pay out of pocket. So if you do go to one of these providers, make sure you bring your insurance card so that they can check and see if you're in network and if your work is covered. Now, they also typically charge a reduced rate. For example, the School of Dentistry usually charge about 30% less for teeth cleaning and other types of services. If you had insurance and that paid for part of it, and you were usually out of pocket $250 per year, this could mean that you'd only be out of pocket $150 to $175 per year. That's a pretty nice savings that can hit you right in the wallet. And again, you're getting a similar service than you would at your local dentist. And for somebody that spends a lot of money on dental work per year, this could really add up and could potentially save you hundreds or thousands of dollars. Another option for getting a great deal on a great meal is to visit your local culinary schools. So in my area, we actually have a couple of culinary colleges, and they will offer special meals where one student will act as the executive chef and the other students will work as the kitchen staff. And in some cases, they will publish their calendar and they'll have a lunch or a dinner meal available, which are usually several courses. So for example, the lunch will usually be an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. And the dinner may be similar, but may actually have an additional course. The prices, though, are much cheaper. So for the lunch special, that's anywhere from $12 to $15, and the dinner is anywhere from $18 to $25, usually just covering the cost of the raw supplies and the material. In fact, the students are usually getting credit for the labor, so you're not really paying for any of that. And the experience can be very similar to dining in a nice restaurant. The great thing about this is that the food quality is usually more like a $100 dinner at a nice restaurant. And the other advantage here is that you don't have to tip. Now, one of the drawbacks here is that the typical menu is fixed and is the same for everyone. So if you have special dietary needs or are picky about your food, then it's probably not a great option for you because you are going to be served whatever is on the designated meal by the student head chef. However, if you're adventurous and flexible, and you like a wide range of food, and you consider yourself a bit of a foodie that likes to try new things, and if you're like me and love food at an unbelievably great price point, then this could be another great option for you. Now, another hack with culinary schools is that the students are sometimes available to be hired for events. So in one case, my cousin was having an outdoor wedding in her backyard and looking to save some money, and she was able to hire the local culinary school to do the meal by setting up an outdoor barbecue and cooking some amazing food. And it was really just the cost of the food and supplies to hire them because their work actually counted towards their class. Now, it was an awesome buffet with food as good as any caterer. It was presented as professionally as any caterer that I've ever seen at a wedding. Everything about it was outstanding, and there was plenty of food for everyone. In fact, when they were introduced at the end, I think a lot of people were surprised, and they got a standing ovation from all of the wedding attendees. So culinary schools can be a great way to get an awesome meal locally, but also might be available to make your next event a memorable one. All right, and my final example here is massage therapy school. Maybe not something that you seek out on a regular basis, but they are also located all over the country. One of the more famous ones is the Aveda Institute, and they have a lot of locations. I think they're based here in Chicago. They offer an 11-month program for students that are regularly coming in and getting trained on massage therapy. But what's really nice for consumers or people that need massages for therapy or just like getting massages is that they charge only $35 an hour for a massage. And the best part of that is you are forbidden from tipping. So you can't tip the students, which is really nice because that can actually be a large piece of the cost of a massage. So you could be looking at a pretty big savings on even a basic massage, maybe $50 per massage. And I'm guessing that this could be a very good experience, maybe from someone who is highly motivated, new to the industry, maybe being graded on the work and on the survey that you provide. And so I would expect a very professional and satisfying experience from someone at the Aveda Institute. Now, again, some of these appointments are probably going to be limited time slots, and you'll probably have to sign up pretty early in advance, but it definitely could be worth it, especially if this is something that you need for your health and are looking for ways to keep your costs down. All right, let's talk about some next steps for you as you're working to try to figure out what you're going to do with this information. First of all, take a look at your spending. This kind of routine maintenance and ongoing service category may not be easily identified in your budget, but take a look at the different types of services that you've been using over the last few months or even last year and look at what it's costing you. And who are those vendors? Can you Google schools and vocational schools in your area that might be able to provide the same services that you're using and take advantage of the discounted prices, but also help out students that are trying to get real-world experience? So maybe you can get your teeth cleaned or your car fixed at one of these schools and save yourself some money, but also help your local community. And now, as I said in the disclaimer, I don't know what's available around you. So I don't know the quality or the amount of the offerings or the cost that they provide them at. So it's definitely important to take a look at their websites and Yelp reviews and get a good understanding of what they offer, when they offer it, and what other people's experiences are before you start using them. However, once you give it a try, you might be so happy that you refer it to other people. You might use it on an ongoing basis to help reduce your own costs. Vocational schools might just be another option in your repertoire to keep your costs down and put money in your pocket over the long run. So thanks everyone for joining me. I hope you got some good ideas from today, and I look forward to seeing you at places where we can both get great prices on great products.